Emerging Africa Capital Group, as part of its role as a catalyst for Africa's emergence as a key global investment origin and destination, launched the second edition of its Africa Capital Markets Report. It was an opportunity to review the 2022 developments and provide the 2023 outlook for the African capital markets. In our opening remarks, the Group CEO and Executive Vice Chairman, Emerging Africa Group, Mrs. Toyin Sanni, emphasized the relevance of the report to the African capital markets ecosystem.
The report includes detailed analysis of the performance of the major capital markets in Africa, including stock markets, bond markets, primary capital markets, foreign exchange markets, development finance, environmental, social, and governance issues, amongst others. Additionally, we highlight in this report investment opportunities for current and prospective stakeholders. As Africa has now almost fully recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic, the world is approaching another recession, witnessing geopolitical upheaval, supply chain disruptions, high inflation, and high interest rates environments across nations. We are committed to providing insightful and valuable information for investors looking to capitalize on the opportunities in Africa's capital markets. With a market that is predicted to return to 7 to 10% returns annually or growth annually in the years to come, obviously this market offers a huge opportunity for forward-looking investors. We believe that Africa's capital markets have the potential to generate attractive returns for investors, and we are committed to helping them navigate this complex and dynamic environment. Our report is an essential guide for investors looking to gain a deeper understanding of the African economy.
Mr. Tobi Owope, Team Lead Research for the Emerging Africa Group, in his presentation said the report covered 9 countries and highlighted the opportunities for investing in the African capital market, as well as developments like ESG and the African Exchange Linkage Project.
The key takeaway here is the report is supposed to guide investment decision makings for the different players, both within the capital markets and even outside the capital markets. Be you an individual or an organization, this report will be an essential guide to helping you take decisions and understand the African capital market space. The next section is the current state of Africa's capital markets. So again, the key takeaway here is Africa's capital markets are characterized by a mix of both challenges and opportunities. Massive opportunities for those who can identify them and take advantage of them.
Omolola Adeniyi, a research analyst with Emerging Africa Group, gave the takeaways from the report.
Africa will continue to grow. However, it is going to be at a slower pace due to our generic issues in our various countries and the outlook of recession in the global economy. We also expect that inflation will continue to increase. However, it might slow towards the end of the year, but the risk of rising inflation is still very much high due to our dependence on external economies. Then also, we expect that the capital markets will continue to gain momentum. However, the outcome of the happenings in the global economy is going to also impact what the stock market is going to do in 2023. Africa will continue to grow, and this is an opportunity for investors to pitch in and take positions in these emerging markets. Thank you.
Dr. Biodun Adedipe, an economist and keynote speaker at the event, commended Emerging Africa Group for a robust report and highlighted why it is a unique work for the African capital markets ecosystem.
4 things this report offers. Number 1, an understanding of the dynamics of African capital markets. So if anyone wants to understand that, whether you are within or you are a global investor outside of Africa, this is a very good resource to look at. Secondly, the prospects of the market. So in which case, it's not about understanding what is happening there and the dynamics, but also a look into the future. What are the prospects? Then the report also, thirdly, gives you an idea of where the opportunities are as an investor. Then fourthly, it gives pointers also in terms of where to go, country. You get into any of the countries, which sectors do you go to, you get that also. And of course, what are the issues you have to contend with? So for me then, I will say this is comprehensive and an in-depth analysis that truly speaks to the title of the report, Africa Capital Markets Report. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I recommend very strongly this report to all capital market stakeholders in the world of business, on the one hand, as well as researchers in the academia.
Capital markets and investment banking leaders also graced the event, commending Emerging Africa Group for the report.
We really commend Emerging Africa for putting this report together, and we would like to say that this is a tool that investors, not just Nigerian investors, not just African investors, but international investors can also leverage to be able to find opportunities that are present in the African continent. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Toyin, Sanni, Mr. Tobi Owope, and Dr. Biodun Adedipe speak further on the value of the second edition of the Emerging Africa Group report.
The key highlights, first of all, the statement that captures everything is the African capital markets are characterized by both challenges and opportunities. Challenges that can be worked around and many opportunities that can be taken advantage of in sectors and certain asset classes. And looking at 2022 as a year, it was a very turbulent year all across the world. The report captures certain global events that shaped the year, also projected certain global events that are likely to shape the year in 2023. Cascading it down, looking at it from the country-by-country perspective, you mentioned Nigeria. Election is less than a month away now. That singular event could determine the trajectory of our economy, our markets as a whole. And I will not say more than that about the political side of things, but we have to get it right this time. The report gives an analysis of the different policy stances of the different candidates, leading candidates. We also, again, talk about capital market transactions across the continent and country-specific. So, these are the key highlights. So if there's anything in particular you want me to narrow down on, I will.
For me, I see the key opportunities for investors into Africa. First of all, opportunities in infrastructure. There's still significant infrastructure gaps across the continent. And of course, at Emerging Africa, we aim to help our investors to navigate this space. Now, secondly, I see significant opportunities also across Africa in the venture capital space, which is a space that we have chosen to work in. And in the course of this year, we're going to be launching, first of all, our Africa Venture Capital Technology Fund. So it's a technology fund that will invest in small, early stage and growth businesses across Africa that are deploying technology to transform various sectors. So we're talking about agri-tech, we're talking about edu-tech, we're talking about insure-tech, we're talking about health tech, amongst others. So education tech, tech. So these are spaces that we think fintech, of course. We have invested significantly in financial technology, both in terms of equity by way of acquiring, a fintech subsidiary, but also in terms of debt that we have deployed to support existing financial technology businesses, and these businesses are becoming industry leaders and winning awards. So these are spaces that we think that investors should explore, and so we are tracking opportunities and building a pipeline across the continent, and we hope that investors will co-invest with us we ourselves have already deployed an amount and committed an amount that is equal to 20% of the first raise. So of the first close of what we need for the first close of the first fund. So we think that there's significant opportunity for investors to join us. The first fund is supposed to close at $15 million, and we have put in $3 million as a group, as to show our commitment in that first fund. Other opportunities that I see for investors across the group, across the continent, is also in the area of investing in inclusive opportunities. And so specifically, I'm talking about women entrepreneurs now. And so the next fund that we will raise will be the Women's Entrepreneurs Fund. Again, Africa Women Entrepreneurs Fund. Again, we have supported women-owned businesses and we have watched them blossom. This business, for example, is a business that is gender-led, and our investors have, seen tremendous growth in under 5 years since we established our businesses. And for us, this is a lesson that there is an opportunity for investors who are willing to support inclusion.
My major takeaway here is that, one, you have a very good understanding and presentation of the challenges, which for me, it's a good one in the sense that they are presented as windows to opportunities, rather than merely talking about the challenges. So, and that is a very good one. And then going to specifics in terms of where opportunities exist in each of the capital markets reviewed, and then the sectors within each of them, which means it's not a matter of just selecting sectors that run across all the markets, but which sectors in particular in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Egypt, Morocco, South Africa, Botswana, and the rest of them. So the idea then is that if you are interested in any of those markets, you also get a point as to where to go if you are looking at good return on your investment. So what that also means is that if information is presented in a way to attract international investors, that gives us an opportunity to grow the market, and on the back of the growth of the market, to equally grow the economy, because the capital market really is the provider of long-term funds, for development. And that is where I see the connection. So there's a thread that runs through everything that then ensures that we not only get market that we develop robustly, but also be a trigger of growth of the economies.
Despite the challenges in the global economy, from the post-COVID-19 pandemic to the impact of the Russian-Ukraine war, the second edition of the Emerging Africa Group Capital Markets Report has revealed opportunities that investors should take advantage of in the African capital markets. This is a welcome development in investor information and capital mobilization.